Oh, that was abrupt.
Hello, and welcome to the Professional Insights Podcast. I'm Brandon Curry.
I'm Jeff Collins.
Josh Bond.
And Trevor Lindy. What's going on, boys? We don't have the flow going today.
Summer. It's recording in the middle of summer. Nobody wants to be in the house right now. I'd rather be at a beach, a pool.
Well, it looks like you got the pool set up behind you. You got the pool set up behind you, so go outside and enjoy that pool.
That's
you record right from the pool side.
You apparently don't understand that's a fake pool, eh?
No, I kind of figured that was a fake pool.
You can see nothing moves ever.
Mistake.
Always
Come
perfect
on,
light.
I know that.
It kind of looks like Curry's backyard, actually. It's kind of got the nice pool and the balcony and stuff.
Yeah, well,
nice
you always try to emulate me. That's for sure. We already know that, right?
I'll do it right now.
Yeah. Keep playing.
No, dude, get it right. It's only one hand.
It's only one hand.
Two buttons.
That's years of evolution. I can't hit that in day one.
That's right.
I suck at technology. Jesus.
What was I going to say? So everyone, thanks for listening and all that jazz. We really appreciate you guys sharing, caring, following, and resharing and all that stuff. Please keep the topics coming. We've had a lot of action on that front, which is kind of nice. So we are going live in July, just so for people with context, depending on when July of 2022, depending on when you're actually listening to this. So hence the topic, inflation and / recession and advice week.
This is kind of the relaunch of life summer though, right? Because we haven't had summer in 2 years either. So it's an interesting summer.
Yeah, but we stayed on Zoom.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
I like it on Zoom. It's not bad. But did anybody go to that Born and Raised concert this weekend or last weekend?
We know you did.
No.
Oh, it was awesome. It was great. It was great to see in Montebello Park and all that. It was packed for 4 days. I had a great time. I didn't get COVID from it at all.
Good showing, yeah.
Oh, it was great showing. Great. The beers were reasonable priced, I guess, but it was a good time.
That's awesome. What about you, Trev? Did you hit up a concert recently?
Not that, no, but
that's
Jack
a little
Johnson.
Ooh, that's a good concert. Where's that?
That was at Budweiser Stage.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you more of an Incubus kind of guy?
On Tuesday. I love Incubus as well. I love my punk music. Went to Dave Matthews a few weeks ago. Jack Johnson.
That's a good concert.
Next one up, Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, where's that?
Can't wait.
Where's that?
I've got tickets. I've got tickets for the Toronto one on the 21st.
See, I can't stand going to Toronto for concerts anymore. I like that Niagara's starting to bring shows like Montebello Park. Bring it back every weekend. That was the best. Do it at the Meridian Center.
Bring some in.
Oh, that's what we need more of. That's what Niagara needs more of. I don't want to drive to Toronto.
We're supposed to go to the Suns. Sweet.
Like I just do the go, right? So I go Niagara to Burlington Go, and then Burlington Go either like if it's at Budweiser Stage, get off at Exhibition, if it's a Jays game, or Rage is at Scotiabank Arena.
Mm-hmm.
So take it right into Union. But you're talking it's $25 a person for a day pass to take the go now.
What's the concert tickets for Rage?
Oh, I don't know.
It's got 100 plus, right?
Yeah. 300's ringing a bell for a pair of tickets.
Oh my God.
That's
back in 2019.
Start at 100. I won't $10 starts for a beer. Starts at 100 for a ticket.
Well, it was funny because we got on the Canada Day weekend, took the kids up to see the Jays game. First, yeah. So
they won that too.
He says it with like a twitch too.
They won that game too, eh?
No, not the game that you went to.
No, they lost in a row.
Yeah,
you went to
the
the Friday
Canada
one.
Day. Yeah.
So you're saying Curry curses the Jays is what you're saying?
Well,
100%.
no, that was fine. I didn't care about that. I think the big thing was just on the we still managed to spend $300 on free tickets.
Yeah.
Right. And the tickets were the best tickets I've ever had, which are 4 rows behind home plate.
Ooh,
but
that's nice.
To your point, it's very nice. Great seats, amazing seats. But we took the go up, and on the weekend for July, for the Canada Day weekend, it was only $10 an adult to travel on the Sunday round trip, and 50 the entire weekend. So you can't beat that. But to your point, Jeff, get in there and it's like $18 for a beer or $22 for spirits, or it's ridiculous. Like
you're $150 to get a buzz.
To bring the kids?
Yeah.
For one person.
Yeah, we brought the kids. Yeah. So like it was 50, 60. Well, yeah, $50-$60 for rounded pizzas. That's all we had. Pizzas and some drinks and whatever. Anyway.
No street meat? You got to hit the street meat there. That's what you do. Street meat.
No, I didn't get the hell. No. Yeah, I know. Wanted to, but it's the kids. So you got to be, careful on that one.
You don't want to be in the toilet the whole time there.
No, not at all. But that goes to what we were talking about, like inflation and recession and advice week. So that's actually a pretty good segue because that's what we were talking about. So
I think our new thing is we're going to start an update on all our industries and then we go on to the topic, right? That was what we were talking about doing?
Yeah.
When there's
Yeah.
Well, I got a good story about real estate.
Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead. I think he's just chomping.
That was my own personal segue for it.
Yeah, your own personal segue.
But I wanted to talk about seller's direction in real estate. That's something that's new out there. Not everybody understands that, but the times are changing in real estate where the market used to be seller's direction for no offers until. Now you're starting to see seller's direction of 24 hours irrevocable or 48 hours irrevocable on a listing. Now you're seeing price drops consistently happening. And I want to kind of talk to people about the fact that the market's slow right now, but also look at what's happening, that we haven't had a real summer in 3 years now. This is the first summer we've had where it's almost back to normal. So people are going to beaches, people are going to concerts, people are going to Jays games. There's no restrictions or anything like that. So it's a very distracted buyer's market, and they're talking about the market really dropping, but it's like this every July, so it's different. But I wanted to talk about a story of a recent listing that I had to show you what could potentially happen and how you do it properly. I try to always do it properly, or I do it always properly, but I had a listing recently. I'm not going to say the address, the person or like that, but I'll talk about the particulars, where it was something I talked to you about, Bond. It was a house that could be fixed up and flipped, so there's potential to make money there. What I did was listed at $399, and we put down offers anytime, but seller's direction, which must be given in writing, said any offer had to have 48 hours irrevocable. Okay, and the reason you protect this is to protect your client. So I had a showing that I brought the client through, the buyer. They liked it right off the bat. They said, you know what, I like it. I'll give $389. Instructed me, he wanted me to drop my commission by 1%. That was part of the offer, which I have to present. And then a closing of 21 days. An appealing offer in a market that's kind of slow. But I instructed him that with seller's instructions or direction, any offer had to have a 48-hour irrevocability. Okay, and the reason you do that is to make sure that that's not the best. That's the best offer you can get within the next 2 days. So as soon as the offer was put in, the clock had started. So the offer was given to me about 6 o'clock on, let's just say a Saturday. I don't remember the day it was. 6 o'clock on a Saturday, and we had until Monday at 6 o'clock to get the offer. Okay, and the guy wanted it done real quickly. I said, well, if you want it done real quickly, you don't negotiate. You give them the full price, and they wanted to do that because I have my client's best interest in order. So lo and behold, more offers came in, right? And his direction to me or sales tip to me as the listing agent was, if you accept this offer, the client gets a decent price. They save a little bit of commission on it, and then we'll fix it up and resell it in 4 months, and you'll get your 5% commission for that, which I retorted, that's great. That's great for me. I'm not necessarily going to get 5% because half the commission goes to the buying agent, but it was a lot of potential commission for me. But when you're doing real estate properly, it's not about how much money the agent's making. It's about how much the person you're representing is making. So the seller, that's great that I would get paid quite a bit, but is that the best offer I could get on the table for them? Essentially, it was like a $394 offer, all said and done, because the drop of commission on 1% would be about $4,000, approximately like that. So it worked out to about a $394. Anyways, the house went back up. It's still on the market. We have an offer in hand, waiting for 2 days to show it. 4 more offers come in, other agents. So I'm not making as much commission, but it doesn't matter because my best interest is for my seller. This was a referral. I cannot in any way, shape, or form screw them out. I got to have their best interest in mind. So lo and behold, 3 more offers come in. It ended up coming in at the winning offer was $410. It was a 3 days of financing, and it was a 3-week close. So it was quick on close, lower carrying costs. The net gain for my client ended up being about a difference of $15,000 in their hands. And that's why you do seller's direction, right? You instruct your seller what to do to make sure their best interest is in mind. And when you have a house that would be highly desirable, you want to make sure that if you get an offer right away, that that's the best offer. And I priced it according to sell, where I thought the market was. And I told you, Bond, that this is something I thought would be good for you, but I couldn't just say, here, take this.
Yeah.
Let's screw over my seller and all that. If it didn't work out in the first week, I would have come to you and come to some other people that are interested. Because as soon as I put on Facebook, everybody wants a flip house.
7 days.
It's in that price range. I said 7 days will go by, and we'll see if it's the best interest. But the end of the result was that there was more money in my seller's pocket, less money in my pocket. But if you look at the grand scheme of things, you always want to take care of your clients. Whether if it's your seller, you want to make sure you get the best price. If it's your buyer, you want to make sure it's the best property for them to buy. So, for example, and I've talked to Trevor a lot about this, right now, I find it's a buyer's market. They say it's a balanced market. I find it's a buyer's market right now. The reason it's a buyer's market is because every time you do a showing on another agent's thing, within 5 minutes of leaving the property, they want to know, is there interest? Do they like it? You want to put an offer in, blah, 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 blah. To me, that's a buyer's market. When it's a seller's market, nobody even wants feedback. When it's a buyer's market, everybody wants feedback, right? Prices are dropping. You've got a little bit of options. I'm showing a house to a client right now, and we've looked at, I'd say 30 houses in the last 2 weeks. And it's always, there's new ones coming up. They're a little bit better priced. The prices are dropping. So really at this point, I don't want to pay full price on almost anything. I want to get a little bit of negotiation for them and see if I can save a price. What's that?
The fact that you showed them 30 houses is
that's real. See, people don't see this behind the scenes. There could be 30 houses I showed them. They could not even work out to a payday. It's stuff like that. People think that they're only paying the agent when they're selling the house. But if you're the buying agent, you're doing tons of work for it too, right? Like you're showing houses consistently. You should be pointing out defects as an agent to make sure they understand that before they buy it, right? And the defects right now are preventing houses to be sold because people say, well, I could buy this house or this house has no issues. I'll wait for that one to come up. It's kind of a delayed market. And there's a lot of speculators out there saying, okay, what's coming up next week? What's coming up next week? Or the price is going to drop. So it's hard to get a buyer to commit to an offer right off the bat. It happens still, just depends on how you price it, right? So I'm in the case of a person who, they felt 2 years ago when they sold, they missed the big boom. So they missed a little bit of money. They had rented for a couple of years. It was more of a split, so it happens, and it's part of real estate, unfortunately. But now they're looking to, I think there's a lot of buyers out there looking to get their pound of flesh because, a lot of people have been overpaying for a bit, and now they're coming back with a vengeance a little bit, and they want to negotiate. And there's negotiable terms out there. There's negotiable terms on price. There's negotiable terms on what you want the person to do. There's people waiting to see if the price is going down. It's a time for some agents that can sharpen their pencils when they're looking to buy. But, the moral of the story is that I was talking about seller's direction, and the advantage for that when you're selling a house is that you should follow suit. So just because it's advantageous for the selling agent to make more commission, if it's not advantageous for their seller, they shouldn't proceed in something like that.
Now,
Okay.
The flip side of that, Jeff, I reviewed an agreement last night on a seven-figure offer. The client reached out to me directly. A lot of times, depending on who the agent is, we'll say, reach out to us directly if you don't feel comfortable. This is an out-of-town client buying in GTA. I was on the volleyball court, so I got off the volleyball court around 8:00, and the irrevocability was for 10.
Oh, see, that's crazy. That's tough. Like irrevocability when it's a short window like that, especially in the summer, because you volleyball, you're coaching, you're at a beach, there's places where you don't have your phone or you can't bring your phone. Like,
2 hours, right?
It's almost like a bully offer to me. Here's 2 hours to deal with it. That's it. If you don't like it, and when you're in a market like right now, say, okay, whatever, I'm not going to deal with it. But you have to, as the agent, you have to respect their irrevocability. But as the agent putting the offer in, like, give it a little bit of time. I'm negotiating on a medical building I got for sale right now, and it's a slow negotiation, right? So they're giving me 2 days, or they gave me an offer on June 30th, the day before Canada Day, right? Which is a weekend. This is real estate. There's no boundaries on time. You hope you can respect other people's boundaries. I've gotten an offer before at midnight, and I had till 3 a.m. to deal with it. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Go throw rocks at my client's window? There's nothing I could do. I could almost take them to the board, but it is what it is, right? So they gave me an offer on, and this is the thing that happens in real estate. You give an offer on June 30th, and they give me till July 4th to deal with it. What am I going to do as the listing agent? I'm not going to deal with it till July 4th. Why would I? Because if another person calls with interest, I can say I have an offer submitted. When someone's got an offer submitted, you don't tell them what the offer is. So it's leverage. You want to use that leverage when you're negotiating, right? So when I sign back, do I want to sign back with a short irrevocable? No, I give them 2 days. I give them 48 hours. Why? Because if someone else calls and they're trying to negotiate, which they definitely are, if they're calling, I'm going to use that offer as leverage. So now I've got a second party involved right now that I can't get on paper yet, but I'm trying to drive them for that, because the second they put on paper, and I've gone back and forth 3 times now, I could say you're in competition. Let's see how bad you really want it now. They might walk from that, but this is a new way of doing business that we haven't had in 2 years, where you're using leverage again. Sellers had leverage. Now buyers kind of have leverage, and you have that dance between buyer and seller. What can you do? But irrevocability, like someone gives you that, and you got 2 hours to deal with it at night in the middle of the summer. That's
Crazy.
dirty
That's
pool
crazy.
as far as
But-
I'm concerned.
Mind you, at the same time, when you're representing the buyers, you will try and push that envelope yourself, though, right?
If you got a good offer, but if you're trying to negotiate, don't hold a gun to my head and say, hey, you got 3 hours to take the crappy offer.
Correct.
If you got a good offer, sure. 3 hours, I'm looking at something else.
Take me
No,
30
it's-
minutes.
Still,
Right.
still tough, because if you got lawyer approval, then you got to find the lawyer to find. You got to have the agent. You got to find the buyer or the seller, right? Like, irrevocability is sometimes a dirty game that they use, and a lot of people sell a direction on their 24 hours irrevocability. So if it's seller's direction, they have to give it to us. Why? Because it's the summer. Why? Because this is why everyone laughs at me, because I get out of bed 8:30 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and all that. But I have to be by the phone until midnight, because 11:59 p.m. is like this dirty number that everyone's got to use. So you're sitting by the phone at 11:59, and they're waiting until 11:57 to confirm it, and you got to be there to accept it, and acknowledge it, and email it, and fax it back. And well, I'm not faxing; anyone's doing that anymore. But you have to. And if you don't with that timeline, you can kill a deal. You can kill a deal. Like, when you've got a 3 a.m. irrevocability, that's the best. I love it. Like, sure, no problem. I'll go throw rocks at my client's house, try to wake them up. That's the problem. And the problem in summer, my one seller is in a cottage way up north. Do you think they got internet service when they're on the lake? No, and I'm not going to make them sacrifice their whole vacation. They want to sell it, obviously, but you know what? Life's too short. Enjoy your free time with your family.
Sounds like they need Starlink.
Well, everybody needs Starlink. Like, that's why I haven't moved in my freaking house. 8 weeks. I'm not in my house trying to get internet. 8 weeks. That's all I need to move in my house.
On itself, Jeff, I think.
Well, Starlink you can't get right away, though. They can't get
Our
it in Welland
listeners
right
have
now.
been following the saga of Jeff Collins and
The
his
house that I'll
never-ending
never
house.
move into. I'll never move into it.
Honest to God, you have dragged this bloody thing out.
Well, this is a lesson to be learned. If you're the builder, your
Do it
house is
properly.
prioritized last. Start setting up internet as soon as you break ground.
It's the mechanic that's got the shittiest car on the street, right?
That's right.
So
Fixes his lap.
getting Collins, 100% you can get Starlink. The way around it is you have to sign up for Starlink for RVs. It's going to cost you an extra $25 a month, but they will get you a dish immediately. I can literally go and sign up right now.
You need to shit in your RV to get that. It's one of their little disclaimers on that for the deal. If you don't shit in your RV, you don't get Starlink.
Well, Trevor's not allowed to get it then.
Elon Musk said no. There's other options, Starlink, but I want to be hardwired. This is the problem. What happens if it's a cloudy day or something like that? I don't know how good it's gonna. I got no internet on or something.
Well, the neat
It is
part
satellite
the
internet,
dish
right?
Actually, it automatically moves like to look up to the sky for the best angle.
Yeah, Collins, it's a dish, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
Going
got
up to
satellite.
satellite?
I got a dish. I got satellite too, and I can't watch some of the games when it's all crappy.
Yeah, but
Koji
here's
was
another
hardwired,
thing.
so I'll never go down.
Here's another thing with Starlink is the dish is also heated. So snow falls on the dish.
Melts. Yeah.
The Starlink dish warms up, melts the
I'm like
snow.
this close to getting anything besides Kojiko because 7 weeks now. 7 weeks, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, we're literally there on the weekends at our jacuzzi and doing a campfire in a dirt pile because I've got no grass. At this point, I'm just laughing off. Like, whatever, I'll get it.
You have to, man. It'll be beautiful. It'll be
Oh, it is beautiful. The problem is my current house isn't. It'll be my new house right now, so.
Can't wait to have the recording live from Jeff Collins's home.
Yeah,
I
Trevor
think,
can drive his RV there. We'll do it in the RV in the backyard. It'll be perfect.
If he's got satellite, he can park up there.
Yeah, be enough. The guy across the street's got an RV trailer parking spot. Anyways, let's do updates with the other guys. That's what I just wanted to say.
No, but I mean, on your point though, Jeff, I mean, I had a clause too, right? Just the craziest of clause sometimes you see in agreements of purchase and sale. And this clause in particular, we were on for the sellers, and the clause was inserted by the seller's agent specifically, because buyers draft in most instances, to allow the sellers to extend. Remember we talked about this, Jeff?
Yeah.
So it allowed them to extend to a particular, it was August 4th, or a date to be agreed to by the parties.
Which is always funny. I find it agreed that's mutually agreed on because one party could just say no. So what's the point of it? Because you could still do that as an amendment. So what's the point of that clause? As long as both parties mutually agree, that's like saying, like rain is wet here. Like it doesn't matter at all because one party says, no, I'm not doing it. Then that clause is useless.
100% ship.
It's the same as doing an amendment.
100% ship. So then our client's sitting there saying, okay, well, we want to push this a couple of days and we want to rely on this clause.
Oh my God, some of the clauses are the best. That's what's the best about you and John. I can call you at any time. What do you think of this clause? Garbage. Get rid of it. Okay, perfect. Like the one clause in this property I'm trying to get done, it's take over all the leases. Very simple. Take over the property, and we're not kicking anyone out. It's commercial lease, right?
Yeah.
60-day clause we want for conditions on it. I'm like, okay, so you want me to tie up this property for 60 days without a firm deal at all, and then you can walk at the end of 60 days. Yeah. Sure, that sounds reasonable to me. Yeah. So I drop it to 21 days. So I'll give you 21 days. Fine, it's commercial building. Stuff you'll look into it. But they're like, well, we want to investigate the fire code on this. Well, it's an existing house, existing property. It's got to be up to date. Like there's nothing really to look into. So we're fighting over just this condition, never mind the price. It's almost like they're using it as a smokescreen at the beginning.
Give them their time. Give them their time and put an escape in that you can continue to offer it. And if you find something, then you push the pedal on it.
Well, right now I'm trying to get them a second offer and just say, you want to screw around, I got you a better offer. Here you go. Sorry about your luck. Yeah. They probably think I'm lying about it, but when you're negotiating, you don't lie about it. That doesn't help you at all. You got to, show some people. I hint this. Look, there's someone sniffing around, and my goal here is to take the other offer and screw the other person because he's been gouging with little crappy deals. I love it. My favorite thing in real estate is negotiations of it. I love it, and it hasn't been around for a while. It's back now. This is where you can find. That's what gets my blood boiling. I love it. Let's go. So
yeah.
What a crazy clause, though. You get nothing for the client, right? And there's looking at us going, okay, well, this is why we put this in. We're like, well, next time, let's have it take a peek at the.
Well, why not just put in a clause that if the buyer and seller agree, we can increase the price? You put that in there too. It means nothing either.
Right.
It's a useless clause. I don't know who would even write that.
All right. So, Trevor, this weekend, mortgages.
This week in mortgages. Bank of Canada. We're going to hear from them on the 13th. Sucks. Yeah. High likelihood rates will be going up for.
Am I not right? The rates in the States dropped recently?
No, they increased.
Okay, I thought they thought that they dropped.
No, U.S. Federal Reserve increased by 0.75 of a point this month, or last month. Mm-hmm. And so that's why all signs are pointing to us going up as well.
And aren't they saying mid-July and October?
So our next meetings are July 13th. So expect an announcement at 10 a.m. like they always do. And then after that, the next date is September 7th. So kids are back to school on the 6th, and then the meeting is on the 7th.
We
So
figure
that's
0.5 next week. Is that the
I
guess
say
week?
quarters of a
I
point,
say
half a point.
Yeah, I say budget for 3/4 of a point.
3/4, eh? You think they're going to go?
Yeah.
See, I think I'm anticipating a bump this. Obviously, this go around. I think we all are, right? I'm hoping for a 0.5, but I'm predicting September they're not going to bump.
Well, some things they're talking the Fed specifically because as they say, when the U.S. sneezes, Canada catches a cold.
Yeah.
And we need to realize that they really control the game. They're calling potentially if the economy keeps going the way that it goes or it contracts, how they think it's going to contract. We're looking at potentially rates being cut in H2 of 2023. I think that's a bit audacious. That's too lofty. I just don't think inflation will be curbed enough or supply chain issues will be curbed enough to really, gear off on inflation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
I
let's
just don't
be
think that's going to
realistic,
happen.
though. Right now, what's driving inflation?
Supply chain issues.
Supply chain issues and fossil fuels, oil and gas. Those are the two, and also travel. 3 key areas that are driving inflation. If the Bank of Canada and all other central banks continue to raise rates, does raising rates really impact those industries? Short answer, no. Right? They're not going to be.
No, not directly. I mean, it just goes to people's individual spending, right? Which, generally speaking, would allow less money for travel.
Yeah. So, but then the supply chain factor we have zero control over, and the fuel we have zero control over.
Right.
So
no, and that's the thing. You're hitting the nail on the head. They're punishing the wrong people here. They're just the reason why we have the high inflation that we have are supply chain issues and oil and gas. End of story. Because the minute you increase, in Canada specifically, minimum wage going up in October again to $15.50, and in January in Ontario going up to $15, that would have caused inflation to go up because, there's your cost of goods for services, right? Going up. But the major sustained inflation is when you've got, gas going, it's costing people, oh my God, it's costing me $150 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I got an office to go into.
Yeah.
So like my gas bills have easily doubled. So that and then I don't have the ability in my line of work to pass on those increases onto an end client. My costs are my costs, or what I charge is what I charge. So
the good old gas surcharge on everything.
Yeah, there's no gas surcharge or anything of that nature. But when you do that to a truck driver, right, or to a farmer, there's all your produce that ends up going up. There's your transportation charges that ends up going up, your restocking fees, anything you want to think of that involves shipping and handling, they all go up. So people think that because you've increased the minimum wage or you've put a surcharge on gas or something like that in order to curb demand, the reality is it just keeps getting passed on to onto the customer.
Yeah,
so
100%.
There's nothing you can do about it because no one's going to take it. I mean, it's just not like you're going to turn, unless you've already had a contract signed, to build a home, for example, and there's no escalation clauses in there. Yeah. No home builder is going to sit there and take it all on the chin. This is not going to happen. No. You're going to pay more. They just keep passing it on because their margins have to stay the same. It's kind of like when I get really ticked off when I hear people talk about, grocery stores increasing the prices and all this kind of stuff. It's just like, well, you need to put that comment into context, because they're increasing their pricing. Yes, but everything's increasing because of inflation. So you can't turn around to a business and say, or to a home builder is a better example. It's more, easier for people to understand. Hey, costs have gone up. No, you take the hit. You take less money. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
See, there's some home builders out there that didn't have the right contract drawn up either, though, because
That's
this was such
different.
a difference of the ball game, right? Where there's a lot of them. We ate quite a bit of money last year, So
Right.
we had an escalation clause in there, but we had to make the determination: do we want to really piss off some people here and kill our brand, or do we want to eat a little bit of money here and still be profitable, but then proceed forward? But now, going ahead, we damn sure make sure here's the escalation clause. We're not eating everything here. This is a fact of life when you're building.
And nor should you have to, right?
Yeah.
Why should you have to as the build? Like it goes back to, conversations that a lot of us have together about like entitlement of individuals, right? And feeling that this is what right do you have to increase it? Well, hold on. Like, why do you feel that this company should eat the losses, right? Like the whole argument between, self-employed, corporations and things like that, and, paying higher wages. I'm not against companies paying higher wages, but at the same time, we also have to look at, is it a small business? Is it a large corporation? Like, right? These things come into the mix.
I'm all about fee for service. I'm all about fee for service, right? Like, you produce for me. I don't care. I'll pay you the star, the moon, the skies. At the end of the day, you get something done, you get it done well, and you get it done quickly. I'll pay you.
Well, to Trevor's point, I mean, like, and this is leading into the inflation conversation, right? Like,
we're deep in this conversation.
We're deep. Like, I mean, at the end of the day,
we're whiskey deep.
How many meatballs were sitting on a couch in Q3 2020? Not smelling that a recession was coming at some point in time.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, the whole world shut down. If you don't understand the basics of macroeconomics, what are you going to do?
Well, right? It's not so much. I don't think I would have been able to have predicted a recession in Q3 of 2020. In Q3 of 2021, 100%. The Bank of Canada and the Fed should have started raising interest rates a lot earlier than what they did, so that people would have started to gear down their spending.
You're right. I exaggerate, but I would say like the end of 2020.
Yeah, my whole thing was when vaccines were made available, and the world was starting to open up to some capacity that we could see a glimmer of hope. Then that's when the Bank of Canada and the Fed should have started, just a quarter of a basis point, should have started raising it, just going, guys, like, don't call my bluff. This is coming, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't.
It was a smoke screen.
Right? And so they waited and they said it was transitionary. No, it was going to be transitionary. 100%. I agree with Jerome Powell's initial comments of it being transitionary, inflation being.
Yep.
But when we got into Q3 of 2021, I'm like, okay, if something's not done, this thing's going to get out of control. But to Trevor's point, why should a small business owner, eat the costs of inflation, significant inflation, the highest in 50 or 60 years in some jurisdictions, that has nothing to do with them. So you're a small business owner, and this is what's happened in the last 2 years. You've had in Ontario, let's say the province of Ontario and a couple of provinces throughout Canada, we've had minimum wage get increased. Just recently in Ontario, in January of 2021 or 2022, it took effect, but it got announced in 2021 that minimum wage was going to $15. And then it got announced again in October of 2022. It'll get an increase to $15.50 an hour. Okay, so right away, you've got two increases to your your most variable and costly expense, which is labor. Then you have, the last time I checked, my property taxes, along with commercial property taxes, keep going up. So either the mill rate increases or your property value gets appraised and that gets increased. Either way, your property taxes go up every single year.
Did you see St. Catharines mayor talk about property tax, and he knows the problem coming because they haven't raised them in 7 years, and they said people aren't going to be ready for it.
Well, it's not that they haven't raised them in 7 years. It's these happened on 4-year cycles, right? So the last time that MPAC has done anything of significance was 2016, 2017. Well, all of those property taxes have come due at the end of 2020, and then appraisals got canceled in 2020 and 2021. So now MPAC is catching up and trying to do what should have been done in 2020 and 2021, all in 2022. So you're going to get a whack of people that are going to get a massive property tax increase, at least in the province of Ontario through MPAC, in the next year, because property taxes end up getting implemented, at least in the city of St. Catharines, in July after the budget gets passed.
Yep.
This is going to be ugly.
It's going to be ugly. It's not going to be, you know what I mean? Like, I'm even having conversations with my wife going like, something's got to give. Like I told her, like when we come September, we're going to have to redo our cash flow statement just to kind of make sure that we can still afford and do one of the things that we want to do, because everything's increasing. And I don't know when the hell, this is all going to come. Right. I'm excited.
It's always good to take a look, but yeah, for sure. It's even more so based on current climate, right?
I gotta ask. So you said September you're going to reevaluate the cash flow statement. So are you handling this similar to how the Bank of Canada is with monetary policy? Spend now, July, August. Get yourself to September, then tighten up. Buy all your shit right now.
Right? Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good. That's a really good. That's great advice, Trevor. That's phenomenal advice. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Spend.
Oh, it's not my advice. No. I'm just analyzing what you've said. You're the financial advisor here.
How accurate was CMHC?
I'm putting it into layman's terms for everybody.
How accurate was TIF then? I was just wondering his predictions.
Oh, TIF?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like,
what's that about TIF, Mac?
Yeah.
We should just mean predictions about what was. Who's saying some things were going to happen with the housing market?
Well, the nice part is the provincial party is in place, the federal party is in place, the beginning of the terms really, and now all the pain's going to come and nobody can change who it is.
Well, no, and that's exactly it. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand. And so this is going to these prices are going to keep increasing because small businesses, like your water bill goes up every year. Your gas bill, definitely now our gas bills are going to
my gas bill for my pool heater that I've been using for the last year and a half. They're like, oh yeah, we just did an estimate of gas. So here's a $983 bill for you over the last year that we were wrong because we couldn't measure your meter. But now I got to look into it if they're charging me at today's rate or when I was using it a year ago. So that was nice. Oh, here, screw you. Oh, nice.
It feels like death by 1,000 cuts, though, sometimes, right, to some people, right? And I mean, just, Curry, to your example, just in terms of the contract, right? Like from my perspective, in Jeff's contracts that we prepare, and we give him the option of having that escalation clause, right? But could you imagine putting a shoe on the other foot where you negotiate that contract, and the time that you negotiate that contract, the price is firm in your mind that you're paying $400,000 for a house, right? You qualify on $400,000, you go to the bank. Next thing you know, X, Y, and Z happens. It's not really the end user's fault either. Something a little bit different than inflation. Inflation, 100%. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? If it's costing me $3 more for a snow cone, well, then the kid's got to pay $3 more for the snow cone, right? But what I think happens is it costs me $3 more for the snow cone, and I throw in an extra 15 cents and charge the kid an extra $3.15 for the snow cone, and I say, inflation.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think there's some price gouging going on. There's price gouging going on for sure.
Do you have one of those slush puppy machines? Your kids have it and you're using it out front? The
Yeah,
lawyer
yeah.
on the show's gotta
We're
save some
going
money
to
some
make our own
places.
snow cones now.
There we
Just
go.
so, while you're speaking of snow cones, last night we won a big baseball game in Thorold, and our game finished at 11 o'clock. So I bought all the players who wanted ice cream at 11 o'clock at night, an ice cream cone at McDonald's.
Nice.
Order at the drive-through. Go right to the drive-through. Says right there, if you have the McDonald's app, $1 a ice cream cone. And so they don't even tell me it's $2. So I paid double, and there's like a big screw you right at the drive-through window when I paid.
So we gotta.
You know what I did? I turned around and went back to Wendy's.
Gents, we gotta comment.
Inflation.
We got to
Question
comment.
actually from Twitch.
As someone that is in accounting for a custom home builder, I have seen an increase in the outsourcing demand for trades. The demand for homes has dropped right off since the interest rate increase, and people are trying to back out of contracts at an alarming rate. Does anyone else see this? Let's go with the legal side first, Bondo, and then is Collins really is he custom? Should he be able to answer?
We do custom.
I'm just being a smart ass. We know. You keep telling us.
Yeah.
Here we go.
He's not only a realtor, he's also a home builder.
And a father, and a husband, and a buddy, and a podcaster, and a coach, and an RV shitter.
The world's upside down.
Not mine, though.
Not Trent's.
No, me and Curry are going to get you. We're going to get you.
All right.
Agreements. It's literally people are clawing and all kinds more than ever. Builder contracts, we're seeing it both sides. Builder kind of drawing things out. Again, I won't throw anybody under the bus. They're not my client, but there's a local builder here that's not in Grimsby area. I think that's run into some little bit of issues, and all their builds are a little backed up. So our clients are saying, well, what do we do? But there's protection,
there's carry-on protection for them too.
Protection for them in those circumstances. But all kinds of different people trying to get out of agreements based on the current financial climate. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's the problem. It's breach of contract, right? And people think it's just as simple as losing their deposit. It's much more expensive than that. It's not.
But see, what had happened before, there's society shifts too, right? So back, for 2 years, Jeff, what would you say if somebody who inked an agreement with you in 2018, in 2021, for Q1 2021 said, hey, look, Jeff, I got to back out of this agreement. That you sold me this place for $450,000. Are you okay with that? Well,
what I would look at is the house worth way more? If it is, sure, see you later. If it's not worth more, it's going to be like, no, we're not getting rid of it. You're eating money. So
that's what's happened for 2 years. If somebody would have come to the builder and said, look, I want to back out of this contract, the builder would have said, yes, absolutely. Yeah. See you later. And then turned a profit of 100, 200,000. Now people are possibly still thinking that in this is the climate. But no, that legally speaking, they're not able to, and they're a breach of contract depending on the terms of the agreement, right?
Well, people thought during the pandemic, which we have to keep in mind, like once in 100 years this has happened, right? Since the last one before this. It might be more common coming up. Who knows? We don't know. But once in 100 years. So there's all kinds of things that are happening here. And people thought that real estate would just go like this forever, right? And inflation has stopped it. They cooled the market. That was a big hot topic for the elections, right? We got to get affordable housing. The problem herein lies is, and my read on it, pandemic hit, there's a lot of pain coming. So they inflated all the house prices to distract people, right? Wow, houses are going way up. I can borrow against my house. I can fix it up. Everybody's staying home. People overpaid for pools. People are overpaying for fences. People are overpaying. Anything trades-wise right now is crazy expensive. All the tradespeople are burnt out. They have nonstop business. The worm's going to turn on all this stuff, because more than likely recession's coming. It's almost what they want to have here. But they've inflated all the house prices. Now they want to deflate all the house prices, and there's going to be quite a few people who bought at the peak of it, and their price is not going to be worth close to that. So appraisals are going to come into play here. It's going to be an interesting thing. There's a lot of pain coming.
there's a lot of pain. There's going to be a lot of pain in the next like year to 18 months. And I think Trevor can touch on this from we'll touch on this in a bit, because there'll be good advice from an appraisal from the home equity line of credit problem that Trevor and I have been tackling off, like with a couple of, client questions. But I mean, looking at, I think the name is Island Girl 1980. I think that's who's commenting right now. So I apologize if I got your handle wrong. But she's mentioning that margin has dropped from 30% to 18%, mainly because of poor contract writing, which is bang on. That's another issue, and that's a big one. So great, yeah, nailed it, Island Girl, awesome. It's like bumper stickers or bumper stumpers.
That was a killer show.
Stumpers.
It was
a great.
yeah.
It was a great show. I get to. Yeah, before it was bumper stickers, and now it's now.
I just talked about that last night.
That's show. Hilarious. I love that show. Now, yeah, like there's nothing really you can do about it. I mean,
if you keep in mind though, 30% margin on a new build, that's an extreme profit margin, right? So 18% is about more where it's typically been, right? So it's come back down to normal. So 30% think about it. You buy $1 million house and the builder's making $300,000. That's a big one right there. So it is changing, right? So profit margins are coming back down to the more normal, right?
So Bondo, same question from the same listener. Do you know a lawyer in the Kingston area for a review of E&O? Maybe you could. Do you know?
No.
Bondo?
No, I don't.
Ramble away. We don't care.
Yeah. That's what our podcast is called. Rambling on.
We don't
ramble
care.
On.
Yeah. So no, we don't. Sorry about that. We don't know someone in the Kingston area. If there's anyone that's listening,
no
watching
there, Bondo.
I'm trying to think Kingston area who would. I do have a variety of areas, but I don't think Kingston is
for anyone that's watching, listening, whatever. Reach out to us, shoot us off an email, and we'll connect you to, which is info@professionalinsight.ca.
If I'm understanding her correctly, I think she's got errors and omissions.
The comment just being, I just took over the controllership of the business.
Nothing like taking over on the downslide of a home building.
That's what you want to do. Because here's the thing. It's coming back. It's coming back. Like, real estate, and that's the one thing that drives me nuts when we talk about either the stock market, the proper stock market, or real estate in general. With by and large, without, like, I'm talking on one hand in the last 130 years, including the Great Depression, real estate really hasn't fallen off a cliff. The market did in the 1930s. They did it again in the early 70s and mid to late 80s, but it's always bounced back. Never like a crash where you lost everything, and unless you were in some fairly risky equities, right? And some high volatile equities. Oh no. But that was a great but that all bounced back within 3 years. We were right back to par. So it doesn't worry me, but to your point, Collins, if you've over leveraged yourself, and Trevor, I think you should maybe touch on this, the HELOC piece that's coming down the pipeline in Q4 of 2022, and is when they're looking at implementing it?
It doesn't officially come into the fiscal year ending 2023.
Okay. So basically, fiscal year 2023 or calendar year?
Fiscal year. So depending on the
April
financial
1st.
institution, whether it's October 31st, December 31st, 2023, that's when it'll be implemented. So quickly to just touch on that for anybody listening, wondering what the heck we're talking about. OSFI is the Office of the Superintendent of Financial Institutions. They basically high level oversee everything happening with federally regulated institutions. And what they have recently announced is having to do with, I forget how the terminology they actually used, but basically if you've got a mortgage with a home equity line of credit associated with it, they want to ensure that the consumer's borrowability, anything above 65% loan to value, is non-readvanceable, and it has a principal and interest repayment to it. So you can have a line of credit product with your mortgage, as long as the loan to value is 80% or under. The line of credit itself can only be 65% of the total value, but you can have that additional 15% with a term loan repayable. And so they've implemented a new strategy, basically saying that as anything above that 65%, the borrower can't get access to anymore. And that's the change that for some institutions, they have to tweak their credit product to ensure that it doesn't happen after the fiscal year end 2023.
Trevor, so sorry to interrupt. I want to make sure people understand what you're saying, right? So, so the first piece is, let's use me as an example. I did a refi a couple months ago, right? And I go and I get a home appraisal, right? And the home appraisal back in March ends up being, I'm going to make it up, home ended up coming in at $1 million, right? This is before the interest rates increases actually really took effect. I'm dealing with the credit union. And in the province of Ontario, credit unions can go up to 80% loan to value. So let's assume incomes and everything, credit rating, the whole bit, it all checks out, that I get to have access out of the million, $800,000, right? Mortgage, for easy math, is $300,000, and therefore I would have access to $500,000 of a home equity line of credit. Are we good? Am I good so far in my example, Trev?
Yeah. So I think the better way, since we're using $1 million.
Yeah. Sorry. Well, no. Then I'm saying this
global
rule comes
limit
in,
right?
So then this rule comes in fiscal year of 2023. And how do they refigure what the new value is? Like, do they just send out a random appraiser and go, hey, it's now worth only $9, and who pays for that? So touch on that piece of it, I think.
Okay. No appraisal. No appraisal. It's based on when the collateral charge or mortgage registration was completed. So in your case, if the collateral registration, mortgage registrations took place, your product would be collateral registration now. So it'll be that date. So based on that, the valuation, the 65% loan to value, 80% loan to value will be based on that. Being with the credit union obviously is provincially regulated, not federally regulated. So they don't have to adhere to what OSFI is saying or implementing. Right. But like I had mentioned to you, the likelihood that financial, credit unions like Duca, First Ontario, Meridian, Desjardins, if we start looking out west, Van City and so on, you're definitely going to see a lot of those credit unions will shift, especially if the government changes the insurability criteria on how, which, we talked about on previous episodes, the stuff that goes on in the background. If that stuff changes, there's a high likelihood that the credit unions will also follow suit, just because they need to insure their book of business, right? They need to insure it so that they can get more money to lend out to more people.
Right. So so basically, if their back end is over leveraged because they can't get insurability, that tightens up the money supply, and it all trickles down the line, right? So getting mortgages are. Will this impact Tarion? Trev? Question?
No issues with Tarion. It's literally just a lending criteria that's going to change for borrowers. So simple enough. And again, I can't stress enough, you can still do up to 80%, but the readvanceable, so those individuals that want that line of credit product, and who doesn't want that line of credit product, it offers you access to typically large amounts of capital in very quick order. So that's the nice thing about having it. It just means you're not going to have access to the ability to, unlock, right? Because certain lending products, Bondo used the term global limit. If it's already been registered at that higher amount, it's easy enough to just really do a little bit of paperwork and get access to that money again without
Uh-oh.
you can
Uh-oh.
avoid an appraisal.
Okay.
Sorry, we're saying and am I free?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you're freezing. So
Oh,
just
okay.
rewind it a wee bit. So we
Yeah,
lost
okay.
you at just do a little bit of paperwork. So give examples, like give actual examples of what you mean by this, because you might be losing some people. Like, so for example, what do you mean by the appraisal's already been done? You just do a little bit of paperwork and get access to it if it's been registered. I know what you mean.
Yeah. Like, there's lending products out there like the Scotiabank Step, the Meridian, it's called a flex line, the TD flex line. Whereas if you're already previously approved for a set dollar amount and you're not asking to go over that dollar amount. So pick a number, if we're going to use your example of $1 million and you're already approved for 800,000, 80% of the million, you're not going above that $800,000, right? By going back to the institution. They've already registered it for the $1 million. It's already in place. You already have access to the 800,000. It's easy enough to just do a little bit of paperwork in this example. So like your value is down to say 650,000, right? Because this is 65% of that.
So now the value, what's down to 650,000?
You've paid your credit products, your mortgage, your line of credit, everything down from 800. You're down to 650 now, 65%.
So now the bank would recognize, okay, you've got 350,000 worth of equity in this. We're prepared to recognize under your mortgage, but beside it, a line of credit that works.
No, we've already got the line of credit in place, right? You've already got that line of credit. The way most of these, the way a lot of those institutions do them, like Scotia and TD and everybody, is as you pay it down. So yes, you could potentially start with a $1 line of credit, but as you pay it down, the line of credit, now you've got access to $2. The mortgage piece, you pay it down. Access to $2, access to $3, and so on.
So at 650, then we have access to
150. Yeah. So the new rule that's coming out is saying you, the institution, the federally regulated institution, can't give that 150 to the borrower. The borrower has to go through a whole new application process, all requalify, new appraisal, new legals, new everything in order to have any consideration to have that $150,000 unlocked.
Because they're basically mandating that they stay to the 65, whereas before it was a guideline to stay to the 65% loan to value.
The 65 was always, since like 2012, 2013 was always there. That was when they had implemented it, that it was, pulled back from 80 to 65 place. They don't want, what they don't want to have happen in the easiest explanation is the term, like I use, that you asked about, what do I mean by just a little paperwork? They don't want this to be just a little paperwork to get you an extra 150,000. And the reason OSFI, very high level, why they're doing this is they do not want, they're trying to protect in the event of a downturn in the real estate market. They want to make sure that that we as consumers aren't in over our head and lenders aren't in a greater position of loss if the value of the home drops and it's not worth what they lend you money originally based upon.
So here's the question though. I think what's confusing for a lot of people is in F23, how are they going to prove that the home value, if you just re-registered your mortgage let's say March of 2022,
you won't be able to,
and everything's in place, you're no more than 80% or no more, let's say I'm dealing with RBC, it's $1 million, I have access 65% home appraisal, I have access to 650,000, mortgage of 300,000, and a mortgage and home equity line of credit of 350,000, right? This comes into play the only way that I would have been able to have gotten more than 650,000 is if I got it reappraised and the appraisal came back higher than $1 million. Am I correct?
So like to get more, yeah.
Traditionally, if you got it reappraised and it would give you up to 80, sometimes they would bump you up to 80% loan to value, right? So maybe they would recognize 80% of your equity. Now they're sticking at the 65% and saying, too bad. If you've got equity over 65%, we're not recognizing it and we're not lending you money and using your home as security under this line of credit above 65% loan to value.
Right, but the federal institutions have always been 65%.
Well, they haven't always
so
been.
then what's the I don't understand what the
13. The difference being, like I said, is so Manulife, the Manulife one is a great example.
Yes.
Depending on what type of product you have with them. Like if you're using like their equity program or their small business owner program, they'll only do 50% loan to value. And I'm not saying that to kind of confuse people. I'm just trying to, for the four of us explain. Yeah. So they do 50 or they do 65. So Manulife has already said, they've sent an announcement out to, brokers and other advisors that use the Manulife one through like your channel, Curry. Yeah. And basically what they've done is they said, listen, our product is already designed this way. So, $1 million appraisal, you need $800,000. But the line of credit, 650 period, the 150,000, it's principal and interest repayment. And no matter what you do, no matter how nice you ask, they're never going to give you that 150 again. They're going to give you the 650. They won't give you the 150.
I think you need.
That's basically where the other banks. What's that?
For the time until they change the rules again.
Right, but no. Finish your thought, Trev.
Yeah, and the industry is always evolving, right? But so final thought on that is the other institutions have always had, for lack of a better term, a loophole built into the way they do their collateral registrations, the way they sell their product, that, oh, hey, Josh, Jeff, Brandon, you need that extra 150K? No problem. We've got a way to take care of it. Government saying, we're done with this. We don't want this to happen anymore. We're going to give you until end of fiscal 2023. So, all the big 5 banks, big 6 banks, if you count National Bank in the mix, is October 31st, 2023. The monoline lenders of the world, like, MCAP group of companies, which is RMG, Paradigm Quest, and all those, December 31st, 2023.
Got it.
So. Did he finish that good enough for you, Brad?
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of confusion that is out.
Very simple concept. Very simple concept. There shouldn't be.
You're just adjusting and.
No, there is a ton of confusion because I'm speaking to clients that there's a lot of confusion because they don't understand how it's collateralized. They don't understand how it's registered, right?
And in all honesty, Curry,
and no one at the bank explains it. They just go, that's the biggest problem.
And think about when this announcement came out, right? Exactly. What did I do? I sent you guys the link to OSFI, right? Through our group chat that we have on the go. I sent it out to you guys and basically like, here we go again, type of, smart ass comment. And then Curry, you were like, Trev, I need more info right away, because you're like, I know I'm going to be fielding questions in the next couple of days with clients. Let me know. Right. And the conversation you and I had versus what we're talking about now, I don't know how much you recall of that conversation, but this has evolved, right? Like, we have a lot more clarity today than we had, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago when it got announced. And I was telling you about it.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I guess it's maybe people aren't getting good advice. Anytime I register a collateral, I just let them know, look at that line of credit portion, you got to renegotiate with the bank. If you ever want more money, there's a negotiation that has to be had with the bank, and it's not guaranteed.
But
well, not only that, it says right in the fine print that they can recall that home equity line of credit at any time.
it's a demand note.
It's a demand note.
But
But
here's
again,
Usually when in default, right?
well, no, I can tell you a story where default doesn't even play into the equation and it was an issue. But you know, Bondo, you and I have had this portion of the conversation where you do that as the solicitor, but how many files that, you know, these closing services, I won't
Yep.
name them. I'm
Yep.
not, and it's not meant as a criticism to them either.
Oh, for sure.
But when people use those closing services, who is the closing service there to represent? The
Yeah.
financial institution.
100%.
They tell you very flat out, if you want proper legal advice, we're not going to give it to you because we're representing whoever, name the bank.
Yeah.
That's
But
where
then-
you come in.
But it becomes a cost game, Trev. You know that, right? So
Absolutely.
we can do it all internally here for $600, or
Yes.
you go see a lawyer and it's going to cost you more.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
smiling on his face.
No, but what's more? Most people you're going to pay $1,200, or are you going to pay?
They're going to save the few bucks.
Right.
Well, and then also you've got the institutions that are paying that cost.
So then those
many
people that are
cases.
saving the $500 and $600 are now those same people that are sitting here scratching their head saying, "I never got that advice."
Yeah.
right.
Oh, you know what? You shouldn't have taken the $600 option. You should have got the advice from a professional that would have said, "Look, hey, this is the way it's structured. You're not guaranteed access to these funds. It's got to be negotiated at that point in time. The only thing that you're saving is the cost of re-registration."
Yeah. And so quick little story to what we're discussing. A guest that you guys are aware that I'm trying to get on the show. He's based out in British Columbia. And he's told this story many a times when I've been at conferences and stuff that he has been presenting at. And the scary reality of a home equity line of credit and how it is a demand loan. Yes, Bondo, you are correct that typically it requires it to be in default before an institution's going to call it back. But this individual, and if we can get him on, I'm
nervous here because I've never seen one. So
yeah, and I'm sure we can probably get him to share the story and talk about it. But he actually had a client out in BC that had an unfavorable story posted in a newspaper. The institution saw, he was a self-employed individual. There was an unfavorable story posted in the newspaper. The institution saw it and the institution called in the line of credit.
no way.
The client, from how the individual that shared the story with me explains it, is fortunately his client was financially liquid, that he was able to manage it and take care of it. But imagine if you're that individual that isn't. What do you do now? Sell your house.
Well, and here's the thing. In 2019, according to Statistics Canada, 30 to 40%, I can't remember the exact number, was around this was self divulged in a survey. They were $200 a month away of an emergency fund of some sort coming up from going bankrupt or not being able to pay for that fund. I don't know about you guys, but fuel alone has gone up a month by $200. Not even including groceries. So to your point, Trevor, and I jokingly said back then when I was asked to comment on it, I said it's actually higher than that. That's 30 to 40% of Canadians who actually know their finances and actually know that they're paycheck to paycheck. It's a lot higher than that. A lot of people don't realize these small little nuances. Nothing gets explained to them at the bank. They just take these loans and they walk away with them. And they don't know, I'm not saying everyone on this call is experts at this, but at least we could probably tell you how our cash flow is every single month, right? Like, we could give you a pretty damn good idea. We're in the major minority.
Yeah.
We're the massive minority in that. There are people who I sit down with to do financial plans for, and one of the major questions are, they know what their mortgage payment is 9 times out of 10. They know what they pay. They don't know what the balance is. They don't know what the interest rate is. They don't know how long it's locked in for. They don't know what the amortization is for. And we know, statistically speaking, that is the majority of Canadians' largest purchase that they'll ever make. And they have no idea. So back to what we were saying before, it isn't a simple concept. Loan to value is not very direct, because if people can't tell me what their mortgage payment is, or what their amortization is, or what their interest rate is, which is fairly basic, they guarantee you don't even read the small print or even listen to what a lawyer tells them. This is scary. I think what Jeff was saying earlier, there's a lot of pain coming, and which leads us into like the recession talk.
Don't confuse what I'm saying in terms of the concept being simple. It is a simple concept. Sometimes does it fall on hard ears? 100%. Still doesn't change the fact that it's a simple concept.
It is a simple concept. It's just, I don't think people really realize what they're in for.
100%.
I
believe, as all of us can attest to, that unfortunately, a lot of people don't listen when we talk.
Island Girl just basically said, saying amortization to a layperson is like trying to talk fish to a dog. Yeah, it is. They and then a lot of the things too that which I've had to catch it a couple times, and Trevor, you know this, as I've renewed a couple of mortgages through you. They try to make that they'll automatically re-amortize at 25 years if your initial amortization was 25 to make
just have a lower payment, yeah.
Right? Like they'll like some of these people will like be, get locked in, or they'll want you to go to the 5-year fix because that they make more money on the 5-year fix, and then they'll re-amortize. And I've said many times, so when you went to go renew, did you do at the normal amortization schedule of 20, or did you bump it back to 25? Oh, I've got no idea.
Even skip down to 15 sometimes. That's what you can do.
Well,
that's what I've done.
Yeah,
that's one of the great things about a collateral mortgage product, right? Like you've got, so like Scotiabank Step will use the global limit, right? Here's the top of the umbrella, amortized over 30 years. So we can qualify you, but let's say you want to pay it off in 10 or 15, but you can't qualify for the whole umbrella at 10 or 15. We just do the mortgage portion at 15 or 10, the whole thing at 30. But, this is a conversation that I have with clients a lot, that they need to realize when you're dealing with a broker, access to all products, there's a certain level of disclosure that we have to go through. We talk about it. You don't get that. It's, I guess a good analogy would be Bondo, the real lawyer, the closing service, and, the broker that's going to explain everything and the terms, definitions, conditions, versus going to the bank. And it's just like, yeah, sign here, right? I take the time to explain it to the client so they understand before they're signing their life away.
So what do you think about the idea they're floating out there about a 50-year amortization?
I don't think we're ever, keep in mind so I started in January 2008, we had 40 amortizations at the point.
That's as high as we went.
Right. Yeah. The highest we went. The US had a 50-year amortization.
I can see them floating that because the banks will love it and all that, but it's like, I think the people would jump on that so much just to have the lower payments, but they're never going to get ahead if they're doing something like that. It's crazy.
Oh God, no. I mean, they had 40-year AMs in Australia, and like basically as let's say a 30-something-year-old, that would probably be able to afford a house back then. I'm talking about the early 2000s. You're never going to be retired mortgage free. It's statistically not going to happen if you take a 40-year AM.
Have you seen that out there being floated around though? Like I've seen those stories right now. With the
I've seen potentially, I've seen opinion articles, to be fair, on the 30, 100% coming back, like here to stay.
Insured. 30 years is still here. And
entertaining 35 and 40 years, entertaining it back.
That's the solution to get people to afford housing again.
Again, those were options previously. for those that are listening or watching and curious, when I bought my first house, 2008, bought it for 162 grand. Niagara was great then. And
Right.
you can amortize for 40 years, $162,000. If I took 40 years to pay it off based on the interest rates at that time, which, 5-year posted was 7.2 in 2008. So there's another piece for people here that are freaking out over 5.5% for a 5-year fixed right now. This is not that bad. So 7.2, it would have taken, if it took me the 40 years to pay it off, I did an amortization schedule on it.
Island Girl, we're
400.
We're all Niagara people here. We love Niagara. It's great now.
It would have cost $400,000 for the $162,000 house if I took the 40 years to pay it off.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, but the difference in interest rates back then, 7.2, you had average mortgages of 160, 200, whatever. Now the average mortgage is $500,000, $600,000.
It's not as bad as Kitchener.
Margins of scale.
Island Girl's coming out with the tweets. Look at that.
This is
jabs. This is good. This is good.
We're Niagara boys here. Born and bred.
Okay.
Now,
you know what I've been
not born and bred.
lately a few times is some clients going to refinance. Full stop. Can't.
Can't at all, eh?
Say that again.
Full stop. Bank's not letting them, or the lending institution. I wouldn't say bank.
Just
Is
say
not
no.
letting them till the end of their term.
Yeah. She's waiting on movers right now. So
Just busting balls.
hey, that's okay. That's good.
That's
I don't know if the banks or lending institutions will take away your ability to refinance. Does it make sense?
Income for them. That's a lot of revenue for them.
Lenders, when we've requested payouts, send a correspondence back saying this is a closed term. You are not permitted to pay it out until this date. Period. Full stop. Twice now.
But what institution?
I won't say.
Okay, we'll talk about it another time. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because you have lenders that will put bona fide sale clauses on contracts. You'll have lenders that'll put in non-transferabilities.
Well, bona fide sale, I think obviously, right? I think obviously on a bona fide sale that everybody has the ability to pay out their mortgage.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's the only way you're breaking this mortgage is bona fide sale, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
there's lenders have their products, right? Their ways of doing things. Essentially, what I see a lot of is the ability to capitalize and force you, the consumer, into having to eat a penalty.
Yeah, a lot of penalty eating
Right?
sucks. I always tell people, talk to Trevor, see what your penalty is. A lot of people that have no idea they even have a penalty.
Yeah, they don't understand their mortgage, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's sad. It's sad. To Curry's point, I'm not trying to say that he's wrong. I think there's a crap ton of people that don't understand what they have, but it doesn't make it that it's not complex. It's just they're not being explained the simplistic aspects of it.
Well, it's not. I just think that it's kind of crazy that we have people that have these massive amounts of loans and they don't know what they've got. And I think it's pathetic.
They should almost initial acknowledge exactly, here's your penalty.
But even still, that doesn't mean
that.
anything. There's ways to get out of it, right?
Well, the difficulty is sometimes they say cost of borrowing, or it's 3 months worth of interest or interest rate
differential.
Right.
And the thing is, nobody explains
something complicated. Take a client through an interest rate differential calculation. One, you have no idea what the interest rates will be that you're calculating. So you really can't even put them in a good footing to tell them what that penalty is. That's all you can tell them is you're going to pay the greater of 3 months worth of interest or an interest rate differential. And in most instances, unless you're paying out in the last 6 months of your term, you're going to be paying significantly more than three months worth of interest. And then you show them the calculation here, trying to manipulate this, right?
Or if you went with a variable or an adjustable rate mortgage, 3 months interest.
Correct.
Period.
Yeah.
So there's
it's the fixed rates out there that are getting dinged with the 3 months interest or IRD interest rate. If interest rate differential.
For our listeners, Trev, on that point, what happens if you have a variable that you lock in?
Then it reverts to the terms of fixed.
That's what I thought, right?
Leaving in the middle there. Jeez.
Wow. Emergency. I heard something squeak there. So
I think he's trying to find my trailer.
Yeah,
I think he's looking for my trailer right now.
Take the man out of well and can't take the well out of the man. Like, I mean, it's just hilarious.
Yeah. So Island Girl's got a comment or a question. They wouldn't make a profit if there was a payout before the period. Correct. That's how I understood the early termination clauses penalties. To be honest with you, they make a profit. Banks like to tell you they don't make any money off of the mortgage. They're losing money, administrative cost. At the end of the day, if that was true, that they didn't make any money off of you, then how do we have monoline lenders like the MCAP group of companies, First National, to name the two largest monoline institutions, where all they do for a living is mortgage financing, right? If there wasn't any profits in it, the penalty calculations, the early clauses, that's their way of padding the books, right? And you've got lending instituting apples to apples. I'm going to use a monoline lender, and I'm going to use one of the big five banks in this explanation. I won't say who they are, but a monoline institution, again, because their only business is mortgages. Monoline is one line of business, right? So all they do for a living in this case is mortgages, because we're talking mortgages.
No credit cards, no savings.
no credit cards, no bank accounts, no investments, nothing. Mortgages, only lane that they travel in. And because this is the only type of business that they deal in, the way a monoline institution calculates their interest rate differential penalty is extremely different than the way a bank and a lot of credit unions are calculating it. The short of how the banks and credit unions calculate it is they take your posted rate, so not the rate that they gave you. Like if you've got a rate of 3.99, 2.99, 1.49, that's your contract rate. They've discounted it from maybe originally 4.99 or 5.49%. And then they've done the discount. The banks and credit unions will take the difference between the two, and they will apply it to the point that you're trying to pay out the mortgage. And that's where you get a greater disparity between what your new contract rate would be, what they're using to calculate the penalty, because they're nabbing that discount and applying it. Even though it wouldn't apply, that's how they do it to manipulate it in their favor. The way the monoline lenders do it is they take that contract to contract, period. This is what we're losing because we gave you a rate of 1.5%. We're back in 2020 again. Gave you a rate of 1.5%. We can sell this money to the next person for 3%. Okay, we're making more off of that person, so we're going to charge you interest. Flip those numbers around, and we gave you a rate of 3%, and now we can only sell it for 1.5%. That difference, the institution, we want you to pay that to us. And that's where the interest rate differential penalty gets calculated. I'm speaking very high level, in the explanation, but I think that in all of my years doing this, I've found that that's the most simplistic way for clients to actually grasp. And, kind of finishing that thought there, again, they make money off of their mortgage, the mortgage payments that are coming in. They're making money off the penalty as well by doing it. They don't gouge you the same way the banks do. So they're always making money. it doesn't just come down to when the penalty gets triggered.
So you're telling me banks actually gouge you?
Yeah, go figure. But it's so, and then Island Girl goes like, this is also why I stick to accounting and not into finance. And yeah, that's why I always say to people, like when we always talk, when people ask questions, finance more so is like healthcare than anything else. And it sounds really stupid. Whenever you ask a doctor, it's like, well, what would happen if this, or what would happen if that, or what's my reaction to this? And they'll always say it depends. Every doctor will say, unless they do a deep dive and do like a physical or something like that on you, a checkup, they'll always say it depends, because it's science and it's health, and there's no clear linear to where it should go. And finance is the exact same way. Like when people ask for advice on what they should do with this, that, or the other thing, it's just like, the answer is it depends, because it can literally, it constantly changes in what's going on. Yeah, finance is for people that like, she's just full of them today. This is good. And yes, I like statistics. I do. I love it.
Weirdos.
What's that? Yeah. Well, yeah.
Weirdos.
I am that guy. I'm that guy. Self-admittedly, that's fine.
Should change her tag to Ballbuster.
What's that?
Should change her tag to Ballbuster.
Yeah. But the final thing that I want to chat about is the potential of a recession. So what we're seeing and hearing right now from a lot of our fund partners and, people that are way, way smarter than I, that is a recession is not likely right now at the moment with the data the way it is. You have to understand we as an economy in Canada, we're statistically at full employment, technically speaking. The US is in the mid 3s of unemployment rates. I think Canada's in the high 4s, if I remember correctly. Thanks.
So
well,
did you say
thanks for
that
dealing with it.
Anytime, we love ball busting.
Anytime, yeah, you got to bring it. Like we don't
more
care.
ball busting, the better.
Well, it's this interaction.
were you saying that you don't figure that we are heading for a recession, like or a hard recession, like?
So there's two things that when we talk about recessions, there's technical recessions,
Yeah,
and then there's hard recessions, which everyone feels, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So when people talk about recessions, it's what do they feel,
Yeah.
right? And usually your tagline is, a recession is when someone else loses their job. A depression is when you lose yours, right?
Yeah.
It's all relative to what you're experiencing
100%.
at the moment. A technical recession, and this has been enshrined in Canadian, this is passed by the Harper government, believe it or not, in 2012, but don't quote me on that one. They recognize that a technical recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP contraction. Okay? So Canada has not seen, well, we won't know what Q2 looks like June 30th until August, but Q1 we were positive. We had positive GDP growth in Canada. I think we're going to have positive GDP growth in Canada as well for Q2. What is driving that? Natural gas and oil and fuel. That's what's driving it. Now, I'm not saying that that's not sitting, basically that's not a house of cards, because you need to go, what is real GDP? And you got to strip out sometimes volatile things like natural gas and oil in order to really figure out what the GDP growth is. But I still think Canada has a lot more in the tank to get us through this year without seeing a technical recession. The US, although that is a consumer-based economy that I've said many times, is sitting at mid 3s in unemployment. But on top of that, they had Q1 contraction in their GDP. It's quite possible that if retail spending doesn't go according to plan, that they very well might have 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP contraction. It's going to be interesting. That potentially could happen, and I think that might be what we're in right now. And that's the other thing too. No one really talks about Canada when they talk about a recession, because if you guys all remember back in 2009, 2010, we never experienced the global financial crisis like the US and most of the European Union did.
A big thing for that. Big thing for that though is that we had control over our mortgages and our bad debt, right? Like
well, that's it.
We didn't
We're
have
technically
amortizations and things like that.
We didn't get crazy with it. And I actually remember having this debate in university 20 some odd years ago. And basically, because that's when they, when Paul Martin in the late 90s passed the stricter federal banking restrictions. And people were ticked off that their friends in the States it ended up being the Wild West when you compared the two countries. Well, that actually ended up saving us. And so that was it was eerie because it took about 8 years before he got proven right, but that's very short in a financial sense. You also have to remember too that when you compare the methodologies of Canada and the US figuring out their unemployment rate, they're not the same. So I've heard a lot of people also say that, the US is doing better. They're 1% lower or 1.5% lower. I think we're maybe at 5, let's say. And, the US, for argument's sake, is at 3.5, let's say. Well, they're 1.5% lower. They know what they're doing, yada, yada, yada. That's actually not true. If you there was a great article I read coming out of the global financial crisis from 2011 to 2014. If you would take the employment data of Canada and compare that to the US, but using the US methodology, it would have knocked 1% of unemployment off of Canada's unemployment rate. It would have lowered it by 1%, that's significant. That is massive. And
what was the percentage then?
I can't remember, but I don't remember what the comparative, but it lowered Canada's unemployment rate by 1%. So using, let's say, 35 million people back then, that would be instantaneously taking 350,000 people out of the labor market and saying that they're either gainfully employed or they're not looking for work, because those are your 3 categories, right? Employed, unemployed, or not looking for work. And the definitions between the two countries are completely different and what they use. So you also can't compare apples to apples when you're comparing the unemployment rate between the two countries, because it's not the same. So
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, I found that pretty interesting, and I
just think the second half of this year is going to be super interesting. See what happens. It's
going to be it is. It's going to be really interesting. I think my advice to people, I always do it. Comparing 100%. Canada to the US is like comparing apples to hand grenades. Yeah, that's true. That's pretty accurate. Yeah. So yeah, I think I would strongly advise as we head into the fall and some costs start to normalize or start to come down, or at least stay stagnant, I would strongly advise people to do a cash flow statement. And I would strongly advise that they review that cash flow statement every single month. I do. And making sure
not this summer, though. We already established
not this summer. It's the summer of joy. It's the budgets don't matter. Money grows on trees summer.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Just wait. Not even close. End of the summer, your bar is going to have even more booze on it.
I don't know if that's even possible.
Oh, 100% it is.
I'm running out of mood.
That's a stacked bar. Those are small bottles, though. You got to get the Texas Mickeys.
We'll add some shells.
Time to add.
You know what our sheet looks like? Curry. I make money. My wife spends it, and if she wants to spend more money, she tells me to work more. That's how it works.
Oh, really?
Very simple.
Wait until you see what we have on the Wise Guys auction this year, buddy.
Yeah, you are gonna go crazy.
Oh
Nice
yeah.
diamond rings, huh?
Oh yeah, diamond necklaces. Yeah.
Get some barrel saunas. I need to buy a barrel sauna. I finally got my hot tub from the Wise Guys charity.
We need a contact for a barrel sauna that's reputable that we can work with. You got
Can't be the one I
anybody?
started with. 15 grand. Hey, we need another 5 grand, and we're not going to give you it. I'm about to order another one.
Did you contact them, Jeff?
Who?
Anyways, I digress. The barrel sauna people at a Sudbury.
No. I got someone who's a EnviroNaga referred me to somebody who's been pretty good.
Nice. I'll have to remember
might have
and I'll contact them for the Wise Guys or get you the contact, and I'm going to mention them on here because they were fabulous to deal with.
Who's that?
Did you know the Wise Guys too? Speaking of that, with my hot tub, they gave quite the discount on the accessories I needed for my hot tub too. They were awesome when I went to Sunrise Spa.
Fantastic.
Shut up.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they were great. So I went
Sunrise
to
Spas.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
They're a
Sunrise.
phenomenal company.
Yeah.
Phenomenal company.
I do have one of my jets is broken though. I gotta send her a picture of it and all that, but we'll see what
Sure, there's a
happens.
story behind
Yeah,
that.
they'll get it rectified for you quick.
Oh, it was just loose and all that. We took it off, and there's just like the thing underneath was cracked. So I was like, oh. So she said, just send me a picture. So we'll see. Curry looks like he's smelling a fart or something. Right now. he's mid fart. He looks mid fart smell there.
So I just want
He's
to.
got- maybe something happened there. He had a little accident.
Hello
RV
there,
accident.
I want to throw.
I don't know what happened. I just knocked right out there.
It looked
Good old
good.
internet.
Yeah, that was a good spot
What
to
happened?
stop in.
I did,
You just
why? What was I saying?
No, you just
Oh,
you're
you weren't
the
saying
look you had.
anything. You were frozen.
You look like you ever watch Friends when he said if you want to look really serious, Joey, that you got to pretend someone farted in the room. That you,
Oh, really?
you had that pause look. It was great. It was like mid fart.
Oh, damn it.
Just to be on the lighter side of all the doom and gloom talk, which I'm interested to see what the real estate market's going to do when August and September hits, because July is just not. Nobody
It's normally
cares
slow
right now.
anyways, right?
Oh yeah, it's always slow.
So
Every
transactions that happen now, July, August, we dealt with them a couple months ago,
July.
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
So it'll
So
be
just
interesting what happens.
closing
Like
and-
everyone's like, "Oh, nothing's selling, nothing." I'm like, "It's July. Think about what's going on. You're at the beach. You're at the cottage. You're with
Be
sports
kind.
for kids. It's campfires at night. It's just not a fully engaged market right now. Which there's people standing by also see what happens with the rates and if the prices slide down. But there's still houses that are going multiple offers, going over list and stuff too. So it's not as crazy as people think.
It's having a fire in a mud pit, right? Is that what you're doing now, Jeff?
That's what I'm doing right now because I can't get internet, but I'm plugging away. I'm enjoying the last couple weeks at my house. We'll see.
Jeff,
Like-
I've heard. Have you not been able to get internet at your new house?
No, I haven't. I heard Starlink's really good though. I should get that going, right?
Yeah. I
Just
think so.
satellite.
Yeah. I think it's like
Hey.
$1,500 to get it started, and then you're $150 a month or something with the Starlink.
It's $931, including the shipping of the dish and everything to your house.
To your RV, right?
100
Because they can't do it to a house. So it's got to be an RV.
No,
right?
it goes to the house. You just have to pay the extra $25, so it works out. It's $170 a month for the service.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to throw something out there just in terms of some update on some legislation. It's legal, so it's boring as old shit. But just to update our client listeners who may have businesses, we have another piece of legislation that came into effect in December 2021, but it's coming down, or it came down. The hammer came down June of 2022. Essentially, it's the Working for Workers Act 2021. And essentially, the crux of it is threefold, or the big points of it is threefold. One, employers who have 25 or more employees are now required to include a policy that permits them to disconnect from work outside of work hours. So we can get into more into detail on that in a different episode. It prohibits non-competition agreements with employees, which we pretty much had on the common law anyways, and some licensing for temporary recruiting agency and headhunters and stuff like that. But the big one there is just employers that have more than 25 employees are technically required to have a policy in place that speaks to employees not engaging in work-related communications, including emails, telephone calls, video calls, etc. And as always, there's certain exceptions that apply. So just a little snippet of food for thought from the boring legal world.
Well, thank you.
There's nothing boring in the legal world, Bond. Nothing.
But listen, policy, 25 plus people, disconnect from work, a little funky, obviously, right? But yeah, you have to have it.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up.
Oh my God, I can eat. I'm
Good
so
idea,
hungry.
right?
I'm
This time has just flown by today.
Yeah.
It did. No, literally, an hour and 45 minutes just flew right by.
Yep.
Good chats.
Well, first and foremost, thanks to everyone that listens, that participates. This time, thank you,
Island Girl, especially,
1980, for throwing in the cheeky comments. We needed that. Keeps us on our toes. Anyone that's listening, and can you please share and promote the podcast? That'd be great. To our sponsors, Brand Boulevard, thank you. And Trev, we got an event coming up.
Woo!
Yeah, right. So something that's near and dear to 3 of 4 of us. It's near and dear to Collins as well, but he just likes to go and spend money. He doesn't.
I
doesn't wanna
donate
give us
every
his
year. I
time.
buy money there all year. I have
That's
zero
why I
time
say
for the rest of it.
willing to
So
spend
relax.
money.
I'm contributing.
Oh, I know, but just busting your balls off. Wise Guys
Shit talk,
Charity
my
links up
contributions.
100%. Wise Guys Charity, great organization, 100% volunteer based right here in Niagara.
And aren't you
every
donating
penny-
your RV this year? Aren't you donating?
No,
You could
I'm
probably get a good.
right on.
Me
You'll
and
have to
Curry
wait.
would go in a auction craziness there.
You'll
Look
have
that
to
up.
wait till you see.
Oh my
that
God.
live auction.
RV will be donated this year. He's
You'll
going to
have
do
to
that.
wait and see. You'll have
Pushes
to
for
wait
my
and see.
Blue
You'll
Mountain
have
every
to
year,
attend.
and he will do it.
Take a dump in Trev's RV. That should be an auction.
Yeah, there you go.
An auction item. Jeff would bid on it.
Curry would bid on it. I
Well,
can bond in there.
how much money can we really raise for the charity? If
Jeff,
we
how
can
much
raise enough
money
money,
on the
I would
table
do
right
that.
now?
I can't say unless it's put on the auction line. I'll tell you then when I
Put
go
$100
up there.
on it right now, Trev.
We'll see.
$100.
We'll see. So,
100
but
bucks
for those that are listening, watching, we have the auction coming up. So if you're listening to this prior to on Tuesday, July 19th, we've got the silent auction ticket. The live auction tickets are available. It's at Capola's restaurant in St. Catharines. Tickets are available for it, and
The
what we did
RV
last
will
year
be
that we're
on
doing.
the line.
What
One
we're
night.
doing this year, like we had last, is we do have the silent auction available as well. So that'll go live probably a day before, I think, but it'll be for sure on the 19th. Get out, bid.
Carrie
Lots of
Carrie would partake in that.
She wants to bid on the RV.
right.
So just to clarify,
This could break
For
records.
charity, Trev, for charity.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
we would
He
prefer
said-
to have you there,
See,
right?
3 of the 4 here donate some of their
Silent but
stuff
deadly
for
auction.
money,
That's
but
good.
one of them, Trevor, doesn't like to donate any of his possessions to it. So,
What are you, dude?
oh,
don't
put
even.
the RV
I
up.
have
Put the RV up, bro. Do
absolutely-
it for charity. This is for Niagara.
I have absolutely.
So
I've donated to the charity.
yeah. So
Curry
let's just-
knows
okay,
wholeheartedly.
I know. Yes, you know. Yes, I do. You've done.
I
you've done
don't
it
do the
twice. That's why-
RV, but
but
I've
not
given
something
others
that could
stuff.
break records in donations. This is what you want to say no to. You're saying no to Niagara. That's
So,
essential.
quick
Put
question.
a line there, rookie. Put a line. Trevor Lindy says no to Niagara donations or charity.
Just like Island Girl.
Will not
It's
donate
apparently
his
it's a
RV.
new headline.
No, Island Girls all over it. Same with
Oh, I thought
charity.
she
They all
went
want to
back.
partake.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
Like, this makes
Apparently,
Silent
sense.
but deadly auction. Perfect. There's the tagline.
we've got some action on the RV.
Yeah, the silent but deadly
Wait.
auction. That's good.
Without obviously getting into this, do we, Curry? You know how much Bailey's beard generated for the shave and don't shave?
Yeah, it was like a couple grand. Like it was
Yeah,
significant.
nowhere
Yeah.
near what Trevor's RV would get to.
If you think it could get more than that, I
Six
would.
figures,
I
bet.
would absolutely 100%.
I
If
would,
we can
I
get
would,
like
I
high
would
four
win that
figures,
auction, and I would have all my friends have a chili bake off the day before, and have them all come to your RV, load it full, and drop it back off the next day. But it would be done for charity,
okay, here.
for Niagara, the
If-
place we all love.
Okay,
gotta go up.
I'll throw out a deal here live. You
Okay.
donate what starting bid, what, $7,500?
I think we
If
could
we
get
can get
75 people.
7,500 or more.
75 people we could get to donate $100 each, and we all take the
No, no, no,
biggest
no, no,
sloppiest
no.
shit ever
No,
in
no,
there. No, this RV goes for the night. It's whatever we want to do with it for the night. You want to put big numbers out there, you got to put,
How much is the RV worth, Trev? Are we buying this RV from you, or?
No.
Silent but deadly auction.
Look at
There you
that.
go.
Lots of revenue streams. Island Girls
This could
coming up with
be
revenue.
bigger than the Sunrise Spas every year. And then at the end of it, you could go back up and say, anyone else who wants to do it, we can take it for another night. We could, oh man, we could build parks.
It's like the sauna. Right?
We could build parks
I
with
mean,
this.
like the hot tubs. 2 hot tubs.
Yeah,
2 dumps.
2 nights of Trevor's RV.
Starting
He
bid
doesn't even want
$7,500.
to talk. It could be the white trash bash,
No.
chili cook-off the
White
night
trash
before.
Oh,
Katie's
geez.
not
How's
approved.
that for a headline? Live auction, white trash.
We're gonna
bash.
see. We're gonna see Katie Lindy come up in the silent the comments right there. No.
Nope.
No.
Oh.
Talk shit about my donations to
Um,
Wise.
Hey,
So-
I didn't talk
So
shit about your
let's
Oh,
just get
yeah.
let's just give people before we wrap up. We got to wrap it up, but let's. What is Wise Guys? Wise Guys was created 31 years ago. Basically, there's 3 facets to it. There's Wise Guys, Wise Girls, and Wise Kids. So basically, it's a men's only golf tournament with a massive unisex, obviously, silent auction and live auction. The silent, you can register online. And you can bid anywhere in Canada. It doesn't matter. If you want to register, just go to the website. The link will be live when, Trev, do you think, the online registration?
Well, definitely it'll be active the 19th.
Right.
That's my, for those that are listening, watching, that's my side of what I do for the auction or part of my responsibilities. So we're trying ahead of time, but vacations for people, it's makes it a little more challenging. So hopefully we can get it up ahead of time. We're, ideally if we can have it up and running by the weekend, not this weekend, next weekend, like 16th, 17th, when we're actually doing the setup at the hall, but definitely by the 19th at the latest. And for those listening, watching after, we do this every year. We do it every year. So
Right, every year.
Win some money in
no-
Niagara. Here.
it's again, volunteer based.
Well,
100%.
just so you know that we are 100% volunteer based. We don't have any government funding. 100% of the money that we say we raised, we actually raised, and it all rolls back into Niagara. So,
and let's
we
be
donate
clear,
to a
we've done
variety of
over
charities.
4 million since the charity's inception. Over $4 million has gone back to Niagara.
So the Tuesday, July 19th, we'll probably raise, let's just put a little star behind it. But mind you, last year we did really, really well in a pandemic year. So coming out, we expect to raise north of 100,000 on the Tuesday night alone, just in live auction and silent auction. So, so thank you to all the donators, the suppliers, the volunteers, everything. It's great, near and dear to our hearts. And that is about it. Bondo.
Help us.
Happy birthday to Jeff on the 12th.
That's true.
boy.
Help us help you stay informed.
Maybe I'll be in my house by then.